All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash, double honors to the apostle, elders of Great Millstone, and salutes on to you brothers out there preaching and swears sincerity and truth. All right, I got this article here to grab my attention. This is entitled, NASA Chief Says Unidentified Flying Objects Are Actually Aliens on Earth. All right, according to the Bible, Esau calls them aliens, but angels are the proper term. All right, I believe in Hebrew, the word for angels is malak. All right, and those are celestial angels are celestial powers. All right, under the Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Yahweh is the Most High's name, who people really call God, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the Son, who the people ignorantly call Jesus Christ. All right. So the angels do the bidding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right. The left hand angels and the right hand angels. All right. So let me read some of this and grab some scriptures here. The Identified Area Phenomena Task Force is an intelligence office of the United States. They have been tasked with collecting UFO reports, which they are meant to study and resolve. In early summer of 2021, they released a report for Congress and the public, acknowledging that there have been identified flying objects recorded, mostly of military grounds. Now, these so-called UFOs are called chariots, all right? And our Lord Yahweh Shai, he's going to come back in the chariots, or the so-called UFOs, with his angels in the UFOs to deliver the elect and also wage war on Esau, Edom, and these heathen armies on the planet Earth. Okay, pursuant to one scripture pursuant to what's that, Revelation 12. Let me grab it real quick. Go back to that Matthew 24, Revelation 12:7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels, okay, fought against the dragon, which the modern day dragon, basically the Roman Empire, and the modern day Roman Empire, is America, NATO, and the EU, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven. Okay. So that's basically, there's going to be a war in the sky. Michael, was just the archangel. All right. And the other angels, they're going to be flying in what you call so-called UFOs, man. All right. And Yahweh Shai is going to be in a big chariot, okay, delivering the elect, okay. So they're basically going to be fighting in the sky, like a big war in the sky, man. Because Esau is going to have his Air Force, Navy, with these other nations. They're going to have their Air Force and Navy planes, fighting against the angels, okay? So that's when it all goes down, So let me go back. I just wanted to grab that. Go back to here. These videos show UFOs and technology that their experts can't explain. When officials have spoken with the public about these reports, they've suggested the possibility of China or Russia being responsible for unknown technology, which is false. They don't have. China or Russia can't obtain the technology of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and chariots, man, angels, man. Bill Nelson is currently serving as the administrator for NASA, and he's willing to speak the words that have been carefully avoided before extraterrestrial life. Aliens as actual angels, possible beings from another planet or possibly from another dimension. All right. Apostle Paul broke it down about the third heaven, you know, which is basically when every person dies, they go to the third heaven, which is basically the fourth dimension. All right, that's the spiritual realm. Okay. So that's what was Paul described. I believe that's let me grab it. Now, the 2 Corinthians, no, 1 Corinthians. Oh man, let me see. Maybe 2 Corinthians 10. Maybe it's 12. Yeah, yep. 2 Corinthians 12. I'm gonna start at verse 2. I knew a man in Yahushua 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, whether out of the body I cannot tell. Yahweh knoweth. Such and one caught up to the third heaven. You know, that's that spiritual realm. Okay. Because Paul actually he was actually put to death, and he went up to the spiritual realm. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out the body, I cannot tell. Yahweh knoweth. How that he was caught up into paradise, which is the spiritual realm, the fourth dimension, the third heaven, and heard unspeakable words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. So the spiritual realm, when Paul went up to the spiritual realm, he couldn't. When he got back into back into his body, he couldn't explain what the spiritual realm looked like. He couldn't explain it. So yeah. So the glory is different. The spiritual realm glory is different from the third dimensional realm. As in the bodies. The bodies, the earth, 3-dimensional, the planet's 3-dimensional, So that spiritual realm, that's a whole totally different glory, man. And you can't explain what when you come back to the body about that, higher glory in the spiritual realm, man. How that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. Of such and one will I glory, yet of myself I will not glory, but in my infirmities. All right, so just wanted to get that real quick. And also, Paul talked about 1 Corinthians 15th chapter. He talks about the terrestrial bodies, which is the human bodies, and the celestial, which is the angelic, spiritual realm bodies, So he talks about that as well. Extraterrestrial life, aliens possibly being from another planet, possibly another dimension. So another dimension, that's that spiritual realm. That's another dimension. Bill Nelson recently did an hour-long interview with Larry Sabato of the University of Virginia's Center for Politics. He spoke about the possibility of asteroid colliding with the Earth. Asteroid possibility has become a public concern again, and it's something NASA is often looking into. Unprompted, before the interview ended, he brought up that he wanted to talk about UFOs and specifically about aliens. I know what you've seen is what those Navy pilots saw in 2004, and there have been some 300 sightings since then. He said since Nelson is referencing publicly released videos filmed by the U.S. Navy that show a UFO simply vanished and moving in ways that have remained unexplained. Yeah, so the Angels and the Chariots, Esau can't explain how that technology works. Okay, simply put. Let's see if I can grab some more. Read this section. UFO sightings that remain unexplained. He isn't ruling it out either. He shared that with the size of the universe, and now the real possibility that alternate universes exist. It isn't realistic to believe humans on Earth are the only civilized beings capable of creating technology, and the means aliens have to be considered as a source of UFO activity. This is especially important from national security standpoint. All right. Yeah. See more. Yeah. Going back to this title. Oh shit. It's a lot. Going back to this title. Said NASA chief says UFOs are actually aliens on Earth. Well, that goes into, that goes real deep, man, in the scriptures, because the servants of Yahweh Shem Shah, the prophets, we actually are angels in the terrestrial form, all right, in the physical bodies, in the third dimensional bodies, in the terrestrial bodies, We're actually angels on earth, because Yahweh Shai, he came back, from that, celestial realm into the to the body as Yahweh Shai 2,000 years ago, So you basically translate, when you die, you translate to the fourth dimension of the third heaven, and when you come back into the body, you actually in a terrestrial, third dimension. All right, it's easy to understand. But let me grab that in 1 Corinthians. I was talking about it. 15. All right, here we go. 1 Corinthians 15:38. But Yahweh giveth it a body, as it hath been pleased him, and to every seed his own body. See that? All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies. Okay, so when you die, all right, you go from, let me finish reading. There are celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies terrestrial. But the glory of celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So celestial bodies, when you die, when you go into the spiritual realm, you have a celestial body. And when you come down from the spiritual realm, you come back into the terrestrial as a newborn baby. Okay. So the angels, the angels can come down to the earth in celestial or terrestrials. It depends on what the Most High wants them to do. Because when the angels came down a lot, they came down in a terrestrial. Okay. There is one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, and for one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption and is raised in incorruption. All right, so when you get that celestial body, when you die, you basically incorrupt, man. You know, when you come down to terrestrial body, your body is corruption because you're subject unto sin. Yeah. So when Yahweh Shah comes back, he's gonna basically turn the elect's bodies into extraterrestrial, and our bodies then is gonna be basically incorruptible. You know, because the bodies won't be subject under sin anymore, and the extraterrestrial bodies, and that links up with the second covenant. You know. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory, it is sown in weakness, and it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. See? There's a natural body and there's a spiritual body. Okay, so natural body is in the terrestrial, spiritual body is celestial. Okay? So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to get. Go back to Matthew 24. Matthew 24 and 29. Now this is when Yahushua comes back. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Okay, that's when Yahushua comes back. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Now those clouds are talking about the chariots, the so-called UFOs that, you know, the so-called white man calls it. Esau proved that the clouds are chariots. And we go to Psalms. There's a 104, I think. Cloud chariots. Yep. Psalms 104 and 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters? Who maketh the clouds his chariot? Okay. Who walketh upon the wings of the wind? So there you go. The clouds represents the chariots, the so-called UFOs. Like the back in ancient Egypt in the wilderness, the pillar of cloud by day, was a pillar of cloud by day, and I forgot the other term. So pillar of cloud. Yeah. Exodus 13 and 22. He took not away the pillar of cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. Okay, so there's a chariot leading the children of Israel in the wilderness. Okay, which is the cloud was a chariot, and also the pillar of fire by night. That was a chariot as well. You know, basically. The brightness of the chariot by night. Okay, it looked like a fire. It was very bright. Because remember, the wilderness was pure darkness. There wasn't no street lights. Okay. Go back to Matthew 24. Finish off verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of the trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right, so those chariots are basically like extraterrestrial vehicles. All right. That's why when the Lord comes back and change our bodies have to be changed to the extraterrestrial, you know, to basically be beamed up into the chariots, because those chariots are, is pure power, man. And these bodies can't basically survive in those chariots. So the elect body has to be changed. The elect bodies have to be changed. All right. And Esau he's gonna use his mediocre, mere, terrestrial weapons to try to fight the Lord in the extraterrestrial, which they're gonna lose. Esau's gonna lose horribly. Okay. So yeah, that's the second coming of Yahweh Shai. That's what's gonna happen, man. Okay. And also linking up with the scripture, Revelation 12:7. Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, talks about the chariots. All right. Let's see. All right. Second Ezra's, Second Ezra's 2nd chapter, talks about when the Lord comes back. Actually, the 13th chapter as well. But let me grab this in Habakkuk 3. Habakkuk 3:3. Yahweh came from Teman, and the Holy One from the Mount Paran, Selah, his glory covered the heavens. All right. And the earth was full of his praise, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hands, and that represents like the lasers, because those chariots are weaponized with laser beams. And there was hiding the power of his glory. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. So when those laser beams hit like the target, it was gonna blow up, That shows you that movie Independence Day, Those so-called UFOs had the lasers, everything blew up when those lasers hit that particular, target, that building, lasers hit that building, exploded, What's that other movie? War of the Worlds, Tom Cruise, the newer one, The chariots hit the people. It turned not the chariot. When the lasers out the chariots hit the people, it turned into powder. Basically eviscerate the bodies, turn them into powder. Verse 6: He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. All of the governments. All those armies, they're going to be done. All the people, they're going to bow. His ways are everlasting. Okay? Get that. Actually, I got a apocrypha. Let me grab this one in the 13. Yeah, I got to start at verse 1. Now this is Esdras having a vision of Yahweh Shah's second coming, with the angels. And it came to pass after 7 days of dream, they dreamed by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, and those are the angels. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. So the Lord's going to come back in the big chariots, and in the sky. You know, all the inhabitants of the earth, they're going to look up and see all the chariots. You know, Yahweh shining the big chariot and shit. The whole earth is going to tremble. And whosoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it fleeth the fire. What filleth the fire. That goes into those laser beams. And after this I beheld, and lo, there were gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. You know, and that links up, you know, with what's that, Revelation 12 and 7 I brought out earlier. And that dragon, you know, the armies of the earth, Esau's armies, the heathen armies, they're gonna go from fighting themselves in World War III to basically when the Lord comes, they're gonna turn from fighting themselves to fighting the Lord and the angels. But I beheld, and lo, he graved himself a great mountain with a chariot and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they were which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yes, durst fight. So Esau gonna try to fight anyway, even though he's, you know, scared. He's scared. He's still gonna try to fight the angels, because Esau know that Yahweh shine the angels. They're gonna come down and, you know, establish righteousness on earth. You know, and take Esau out of power. So he ain't got no choice but to fight, because Esau's proud, man. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lift up his hand nor held a sword nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out his mouth as it been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they are all mixed together, the blast of fire, flaming breath, and a great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke, which I saw. When I saw this, I was afraid. See that? Yeah, and that's those concentrated laser beams coming out of chariots. Those chariots are weaponized. Okay. So yeah, man, that's, you know, that's pretty much all I got. All right, Lord willing, it was edifying. Shalom.